ICE just raided a hospital and the workers there tried to stop them.
Dramatic scene unfolded inside the Ontario Advanced Surgical Center when an ICE agent entered in an attempt to arrest the facility's landscaper, 30-year-old Dennis Guillen.
He is from Honduras. He's a migrant that came to the
staff
United States a few years ago.
You guys need a warrant to come in here.
He ran in there.
Repeatedly demanding a warrant, Guillen was detained and taken away. Hernandez says they're now working with Guillen's loved ones to locate him.
All they heard from him once, and all they heard was that he was in downtown LA.
In a statement to Eyewitness News, the Department of Homeland Security said ICE agents were conducting a targeted enforcement operation to arrest 2 undocumented migrants. The agency went on to accuse the clinic's staff of interfering, claiming hospital staff assaulted law enforcement. Then the staff attempted to obstruct the arrest by locking the door, blocking law enforcement vehicles from moving, and even called the cops, claiming there was a kidnapping.
That's crazy.
While other video from the incident exists, the one posted publicly does not show staff assaulting the agent.
They were able to assert their rights as, as nurses.
No, that's not asserting your rights. Locking agents in a building and then when they try to leave, throwing your bodies at their car, that is not asserting your rights at all. But the same thing happened in a courthouse yesterday too. Look at this.
Barbara Stone calls herself a legal observer. She'll sometimes join a group of volunteers downtown to film when those asylum seekers are detained.
Yes. I was trying to videotape. That's what we volunteers do.
On Tuesday, the scene escalated. In this video sent to us by her lawyer, filmed by fellow volunteers, you see the moment it happens at second 12.
She just pushed the female agent.
Agents with Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the woman we now know to be Stone arguing in the hallway.
And there was a large group of people, and suddenly
she assaulted
they were
an officer,
accusing me of assault.
You can hear the agents discussing that around minute 26.
Now watch.
The other volunteers follow behind.
Step out.
Shouldn't have pushed her.
You hear the agents say she's arrested, although Stone says she was told otherwise when she was held in custody inside the building.
They immediately said, this is not an arrest. This is...
Yeah, she seems all nice on the camera, but these people are part of the problem. These activists that are out there shoving people and assaulting officers, they all think it's okay for some reason. Stop! Look at this.
With tensions high for several weeks, we've been documenting encounters between ICE agents and protesters outside of Bay Area immigration courthouses as the federal agents take immigrants into custody. The first on June 10th, outside of an immigration court in Concord.
Look at them.
Protesters confronted plainclothed ICE agents as they brought a man into custody. The woman in the pink hat tries to block the agents from getting through.
That's ridiculous.
Federal agents pushed protesters aside to clear a path to their vehicle. After the vehicle drove away, scuffles between the protesters and federal agents continued for several minutes, with one protester slapping a federal agent. On June 24th in the financial district in San Francisco, protesters confront federal agents once again. It begins tense but peaceful.
This is happening regularly.
But moments later, protesters try to block federal vehicles.
Look at these animals.
Federal agents physically move them out of the way to get their car through, and more struggles ensue in the moments after.
It's the same people at every single one of these.
A similar scene breaks out once again. But this one escalates further. A few protesters begin to climb onto a federal vehicle as it tries to drive away. The car starts to speed up, and the protesters decide to get off.
That's smart.
And on July 8th, this video, captured from a neighbor's window in San Francisco.
Yeah, this is also at a courthouse.
First, a scuffle at the front door of the courthouse, and then a large group of protesters tried to stop a federal vehicle from driving away by climbing on the hood of the vehicle. A few of them held on, despite the driver accelerating down Montgomery Street, appearing to swerve to get them off the vehicle.
It took a man, probably like 30s, early 40s, and
you can't tell who this person is. If they get up in your face, they could be armed. We know that they're dangerous because they're willing to attack somebody who's armed and wearing a military tactical suit. These agents have no choice.
And the goal is to prevent abductions.
We asked about the clashes turning physical. HR points towards law enforcement.
Look at this.
Almost, always at the hands of, law enforcement or ICE.
We also sought out perspective from law enforcement. Former federal agent Jeff Harp points towards protesters crossing a line first.
They can't interfere with a lawful action. And I think that's where we've seen some of this go south. People are putting themselves in harm's way.
There's
no need to do that.
Attorney Shannon Dugan says protesters have every right to be there, but they can't obstruct the operation.
You can protest what the federal officers are doing or what the ICE officers are doing, but you cannot get in the way of them doing it if they're proceeding legally in their duties.
And by the letter of the law, she says there's a difference between engaging in protest and civil disobedience.
If you're sitting in front of a van carrying somebody who's undocumented that the federal government has lawfully picked up, then you are impeding the duties of a federal officer, and you can be charged in federal court.
HR insists what has unfolded has been peaceful protesting, and the federal agents are the ones escalating the situations.
I mean, oh my goodness. That's what these people always say. They come out like this, fully disguised, and they go to these vans and these cars and they start hammering on them and they're grabbing people and inserting themselves, and they wonder why they end up getting detained. It's ridiculous. But ICE is now taking things a step further. They might actually be tracking these protesters as they go to different events. Look at this.
Straight Arrow News found evidence of cell phone surveillance at an anti-ICE protest over the weekend. Protesters repeatedly visit the building. Police used pepper spray to break up a protest last month. Also last month,
they're getting assaulted every day.
The building.
They need to know who these people are.
I want to bring in Mikhail now. Mikhail, how did you discover someone was using cell phone surveillance around this protest?
Well, two teams of researchers at the University of Florida and ETH Zurich in Switzerland conducted a study to find out what are the indicators of this kind of cell phone surveillance going on. And so they created a software, which I coupled with a device that can read LTE cellular signals. Each phone SIM card has what's called an IMSI. It's an International Mobile Subscriber Identity. And this is how the networks identify you specifically. And so
they're picking that up.
Your phone is not supposed to reveal its IMSI. And these devices essentially will trick your phone into giving up the information. So police could use this, for example, at a protest to see all of the devices in the area, or they could look for a specific device and pinpoint and triangulate someone's location based on.
That's going to really help them track down these agitators because they're all covered up and they're probably bouncing around from altercation to altercation to altercation, stirring the pot every single day. These protesters are going to be in for a rude awakening when their iPhones give them up to ICE.
Yeah, hey, Anna, so federal law enforcement down on the ground, they are not giving up despite these potentially dangerous individuals who have been flagged for deportation, who are Iranian nationals, which is considered a special interest country. They're still walking around instead of being deported, and it's in part because these enforcement operations, they're targeted. They're going after a specific individual that could pose a national security risk, but these ops, they're being basically blocked. They're being compromised by these protesters who are basically saying that they stand for social justice. So we were on the ground with Border Patrol while they were trying to conduct some targeted enforcement operations. There were 5 different individuals that they were going after. We
Look how creepy this guy
every
is.
Single one. At one point, a protester actually falsely accused the team that we were with of kidnapping an individual as they were surrounding our vehicles,
so creepy.
Videotaping them, harassing these agents. Now, this allegation of this kidnapping was never reported to law enforcement. In fact, LAPD hasn't seen a spike in kidnappings.
Look at him.
So those advocates, they know it's not a legitimate accusation. They're just harassing these law enforcement individuals, and they're under this immense pressure right now to meet this kind of threshold, this quota of 3,000 arrests a day. That pressure is in pushing them towards large-scale enforcement operations where collaterals, those are people who aren't necessarily the target, are being swept up. And it's in part because the safety of the officers and agents in these operations, it's being compromised.
So part of the reason they have to do these large-scale operations is because in the past, let's say you have one target that you want to go pick up, and let's say they're at a car wash or something, you could go with maybe a small handful of people, find that one individual, detain them, and get out of there. But if you know there's an ambush waiting for you, you can't do that because now your safety's in jeopardy and so is the fugitive's safety. So what does the agents have to do? They have to get a whole bunch of people together and they have to go on a massive operation, and then a whole bunch of people get arrested who might be in the country illegally and weren't the initial target, but were at the scene of the crime. That's exactly what these rioters don't want, and it's something they get upset about, but they're forcing it to happen.
Protesters, while they're sitting on these targets and ending up, as I said, empty-handed. Take a listen.
This does take a lot of time. A lot of effort goes into this.
For sure.
And it may be a couple of days because one day you may see the target, the next day you may not. So it takes a little bit of time until you find them.
That's why they have to go on these mass operations now.
A lot of resources. We had 5 different teams out there ultimately striking out. Now, the at-large operations, they're also producing criminal arrests. We were there as 2 out of the 3 individuals that they arrested who ran from a Home Depot. They did have extensive criminal history. Now, this all comes as Mayor Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, she says she's joining a class action.
Oh, so the people here getting arrested at Home Depot had extensive criminal history. This is the first I've heard of that. All the agitators say, oh, they're just working. They're just nice guys. No, they were taking down hardcore criminals.
But the reality here is she's saying she doesn't want to make any deal with ICE. She's saying she doesn't want to come to the table, Anna. She doesn't want to have talks.
Yeah, because she's a
with that being
stealth
said,
protester.
the chief that's running
who's
these
the mayor
operations on the ground, El Centro Sector Chief Gregory Bovino, I learned from sources today that he canceled the meeting that was slated with the mayor of Los Angeles because he doesn't see any progress being made there.
Sanctuary City.
And Allie, you know, we saw these multiple attacks on federal buildings, the agents and officers working there over the last several days. What are federal law enforcement officers dealing with when it comes to assaults and attacks?
Everything.
Yeah, we're seeing it almost on a daily basis at this point, some form of harassment and assault against these agents and officers. And what DHS is reporting right now is that they're seeing a nearly 700% increase in assaults against agents and officers when compared to this time last year. I want to show you some of these incidents that have happened just yesterday.
So this right here was like a homemade spike strip that was put underneath the tires of a vehicle driven by Border Patrol units while they were making an arrest. Luckily, before they started their car, they caught this and arrested the guy who did it. But there is like a guerrilla warfare campaign being waged against federal agents. And this is something no other police force in the country has to do with. Local cops don't get this kind of harassment and intimidation thrown and thrust upon them when they're out there giving traffic tickets. This is just totally foreign behavior. These agitators, these people need to be arrested, and ICE needs all the money they just got from that massive bill that passed because this is what they're dealing with every day. What do you think about all this? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.